They came in fast. A dark Jeep with HOA security printed on the side like they owned the woods. I was hauling logs with Grandpa when the engine noise cut through the quiet forest. Grandpa didn't move. He just watched, his jaw tight. The Jeep stopped right at our hunting trail, tires grinding into the dirt like they had the right to be there. One of them jumped out, wearing a fake badge clipped to his belt. "You can't use this road," he barked, pointing at us like some sheriff. "This area's HOA property now." Grandpa let out a low laugh. "Son, this trail's been in my family since before you were born, and it sure as hell isn't part of your neighborhood." The man ignored him, snapping pictures of our ATV and cabin. Another guy stayed in the Jeep, radioing someone. I caught words like trespassing and call it in. My stomach knotted. We weren't dealing with an HOA. This was some kind of scam. Grandpa whispered, "They're not real cops. Look at the badge. Plastic shine, wrong seal." He set his axe down, eyes never leaving the Jeep. When I asked what we should do, Grandpa said calmly, "Let them go for now. We'll make sure they don't come back the same way they came in." The fake cop gave one last order. "We'll be back with reinforcements. You'll regret ignoring HOA authority." They revved up and drove deeper toward the exit road. Grandpa just smiled, that dangerous kind of calm that meant he already had a plan. He walked over to his old truck and pulled out a steel box. Inside were rusted spikes, the kind he used decades ago to stop poachers. You mess with a man's land, you learn what ground really bites back. He headed toward the exit road and I followed, heart pounding. Whatever Grandpa was planning, it was going to be the end of their fake patrols. By the time we reached the exit road, the sun was dipping low, that orange light where everything looks sharp and serious. Grandpa knelt down near the curve where the Jeep had to pass to leave. He pulled out a hammer and started setting the spikes, one by one, half hidden under dust and leaves. "Grandpa, isn't this a little much?" I whispered, glancing back at the trail. "What if they're real cops?" He didn't look up. Real cops don't drive into private hunting land with plastic badges and cheap radios. Real cops knock first. His voice was steady, but I could feel the anger sitting under it. This wasn't about the Jeep. It was about years of people thinking they could take what wasn't theirs. We backed up to the trees and waited. The forest went quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you hear your own heartbeat. A few minutes later, headlights flashed through the trees. The Jeep was coming back, faster this time. I could hear them talking through the open window. "Yeah, the old man said this is his land. We'll scare him a bit next time." Grandpa's eyes narrowed. "They'll get their scare right now." The Jeep hit the curve, then thump, thump. A loud pop echoed and the vehicle jerked sideways. Both front tires shredded instantly. The driver slammed the brakes, yelling, "What the?" The Jeep skidded to a stop, smoke rising from the rubber. We stepped out from the trees. Grandpa didn't say a word at first, just stared at them. Then, calm as ever, he said, "That's the last time you drive where you don't belong." The fake cop got out, furious. "You sabotaged us! You'll pay for this! I'll have you arrested!" Grandpa chuckled. "You can try, but you might want to show that fake badge to a real sheriff first." For the first time, they looked unsure. The one in the passenger seat whispered something, and both of them got quiet. I caught it. Maybe we messed with the wrong guy. Grandpa leaned closer, voice low but deadly clear. "You boys ain't from the HOA, are you?" They didn't answer, just backed away from the Jeep, muttering excuses. That's when Grandpa smiled faintly and said, "Good, because the sheriff here is my hunting buddy, and he don't like trespassers." Their faces went pale. They bolted down the dirt path, leaving their busted Jeep behind. Grandpa turned to me satisfied. "Now," he said, Let's call Frank before those idiots try something dumber.
Grandpa's old flip phone crackled as he called Sheriff Frank. Got some wannabe cops out here pretending to be HOA security, he said, still watching the Jeep through the trees. You might want to bring a real badge this time. Frank's voice came over the speaker, low and amused. Again? Same kind that showed up last spring? Worse, Grandpa said. They got fake badges and a Jeep with stolen plates. Tried to claim my land's part of their neighborhood. Frank sighed. Sit tight, I'll be there in 15. Grandpa hung up and nodded toward the wrecked Jeep. We'll let the law deal with him this time. But I could tell he didn't fully trust that. He'd seen too many people get away with scams out here. The sound of branches cracking behind us made me freeze. The two fake HOA guys had come back, this time with another man in a dark coat. He looked older, confident, and meaner. You think you can damage HOA property and just walk away? He barked. Grandpa took one slow step forward. HOA property? This is Jefferson land. Been ours since the 1940s. You boys are trespassing. The man smirked. Not for long. We're expanding the boundary. County's redrawing lines. You'll have to move out by next month. That was the moment I realized it wasn't just a scam. Someone was trying to steal our land for real. Grandpa's jaw tightened. You show me a single document, he said, and I'll believe it. The man waved a file folder. Right here, signed yesterday. He opened it, pages full of stamps and seals, but when Grandpa leaned in, he chuckled. These are copies of my deeds. You just printed HOA on top. The man froze. You can't prove that. Grandpa pulled something from his coat pocket, a small camera blinking red. You just did. The fake leader's face went white. Before he could react, headlights appeared from the trail, Frank's cruiser rolling up slow and steady. The sheriff stepped out, hand on his belt. Evening, gentlemen, he said. Which one of you fine folks called yourself law enforcement today? The Jeep guys started stammering, blaming each other. The man with the file tried to walk away, but Grandpa blocked him. You'll stay right here, he said quietly. The sheriff took one look at the fake badges, then shook his head. You boys picked the wrong woods. He reached for his cuffs. Grandpa leaned over to me and whispered, Told you, never argue with land that's been paid for twice.
Frank's patience didn't last long. Hands where I can see them, he ordered. The three men froze, their fake confidence melting fast. The sheriff pulled the folder from the leader's hand and flipped through the papers. He gave a dry laugh. You really thought you could print county seals off Google and no one would notice? The leader stuttered. We were just enforcing community rules. Community? Frank stepped closer. You're 30 miles from the nearest HOA, and you've been using fake uniforms to intimidate property owners. He nodded toward me. Son, get my camera from the cruiser. I ran, grabbed it, and brought it back. Frank started taking photos of everything. The badges, the Jeep, even the spikes. Evidence, he muttered. And this one's going straight to the DA. The men were quiet now, but Grandpa wasn't done. He walked over to the Jeep, opened the back seat, and pulled out a folder marked Target Sites. Inside were maps of several rural properties, including ours, with red X's drawn over them. Looks like they've been doing this to other folks too, he said. Claim the land, scare the owners, take over the property. Frank's jaw clenched. Not anymore, they don't. He radioed in for backup. Within minutes, 2 more sheriff trucks rolled up, their lights painting the trees red and blue. The fake HOA crew were cuffed and lined up by the road, their fake badges glinting under the headlights. Grandpa leaned on his axe, watching calmly. You see, boys, he said, a real community protects its people, not steals from them. The leader glared. You think you've won? We're connected. People higher up won't let this slide. Grandpa grinned. Good. Then they'll see the video too.
He pointed to the camera still recording from the cabin porch. He'd turned it on the moment that Jeep arrived. Frank laughed. "You always were 3 steps ahead, old man." He patted Grandpa on the shoulder. "I'll make sure this mess gets handled properly." As the deputies led the men away, the forest went quiet again. Grandpa looked around at the land, the trees, the cabin, the trail, and exhaled like he was finally letting go of something heavy. "Grandpa," I said softly, "what if they come back?" He smiled. "Then they'll find we're still here. This land remembers who stands on it." We watched the sheriff trucks disappear down the road, the sound fading into the dark. The Jeep sat there with flat tires and broken pride, a warning to anyone else who thought they could claim what wasn't theirs. Grandpa turned to me, eyes tired but proud. "It's your turn to watch over it now," he said quietly. "Just remember, you don't need to fight for land. You fight for the truth that it's yours." The wind picked up through the pines, carrying the smell of oil and earth. Somewhere in the distance, a coyote howled, and Grandpa smiled like the woods themselves had just agreed with him. "I didn't serve this country just to let someone drive over what we built with our own hands." And with that, we walked back down the trail, leaving the fake HOA and their Jeep to rot where they didn't belong, on land that would never be theirs.